Women Talking! Welcome to Mirror Domains! And this is my review for Women Talking. Now guys, this was out in limited release last year, and it's been nominated for Best Picture. So I have to be careful with my words here. I have to be careful with the way that I'm conveying my thoughts, because there are some things in here that I may say that will get you triggered. What's it about? Women Talking? Well, it's, according to IMDb, it says, do nothing, stay and fight, or leave. In 2010, the women of an isolated religious community grapple with the reconciling of a brutal reality with their faith. Now, it says faith there. It's directed by Sarah Polley. The movie stars Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Frances McDormand, Judith Ivey, and Emily Mitchell, Kate Harlett. Guys, it's a good cast. Sheila McCarthy is in there as well. It's a good cast. It's not quite the movie that I thought it was going to be. If you saw my straight out of the theater reaction for it, that's up on the channel right now, and you'll see what I mean. My reaction to it was kind of like, well, it's really about a bunch of women talking. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Do you see what I mean here? I got to be a little bit careful as I negotiate this movie review, because you could see that this could have been easily a stage play, and I'm sure that it probably was made with that in mind, right? Because it does take place in one primary location of these women talking in a barn, talking about the situation at hand, that these women in this community were abused, and it's pretty much like what, an Amish or Mennonite community or something like that, where they don't use electricity or anything like that, right? And I gotta say that the performances in it were, for the most part, really, really good. In fact, well, there was no bad performance in this. But you have to bear this in mind when you watch it. It takes place mostly in this location, okay? And it doesn't necessarily do a good job of concluding the way that you think that it would traditionally conclude, right? They just have to hash out, we're getting our word to us, we're getting sexually abused, and we're getting attacked, we're getting hit, and we can, as the synopsis says there, you can either do nothing, stay, or fight, and that's what it's about. They're talking about the situation. What are they going to do? What are the pros and cons of the situation? Now, the movie comes in just at an hour and 44 minutes. It does move rather quickly, but I found myself a couple of times thinking, we've gone over this material before. It just like about 10 minutes ago. Why are we going over this again? And that happens a couple of times. And I think that's the directing choice that Sarah Polley was using, because careful here, James, careful. I think that's the way that women mostly talk. I've had a number of, not arguments all the time, but I've had a number of conversations where I think that we're done talking about a subject with women, and like 10 minutes later, we're like, okay, we're done. It's settled. It's a settled matter. But then like 10 minutes later, it comes back up again, and it's like, I thought this was settled. And it's sort of that, those kinds of things happen in this movie, where it's kind of like, well, we just finished talking about that like 10 minutes ago, and we're talking about it again. That came up a couple of times, and I don't know if that's going to jar people the wrong way. Am I supposed to be the target demographic for this? I don't know, but it was nominated for Best Picture, so I had to go check it out. And I've become a huge fan of Jessie Buckley since I watched Men last year, Alex Garland's Men. Claire Foy is also in this, and I am a huge Rooney Mara fan. And it was kind of funny, not funny because Rooney Mara and Claire Foy do sit together side by side a couple times in this movie, and I'm like, those are two of the girls with the dragon tattoo right there, right? Two of the girls that played her. But Rooney Mara is great in this too. And actually, surprisingly enough, So is Ben Wishaw in this. He's the only adult male that I think you see in this. All the others are kind of off screen, and I think if you do see them, it's just quickly, right? Overall, is it best picture material? I don't know if I would say so. Let's go over to the Rotten Tomato meter here and see what people are saying. 90% by the critics, 88% by the audience. I saw this in an art house film theater, so it's kind of like it wasn't playing in the mainstream theaters, so it got a lot of the art house film crowd, and I'm sure that they'll like this. I'm not sure exactly if it would land with a wider audience. But I checked it out because, as I said, I like the cast. I'm a fan of Rooney Mara, and I'm really liking what Jessie Buckley's doing between this and Men. Let's take a look at some of the snapshot reviews here and we'll see if we agree with them. It's a film with so much depth and, of course, one of the greater casts you'll see this year, well, from last year. This is a good cast. Women Talking is full of phenomenal acting by a group of actors at the top of their game. Well-crafted and well-meaning, Sarah Polley, the director, is a real talent. Yes, she is. Let's take a look at some of the bad reviews here. It tries so hard to be relevant that the dialogue sounds like smarmy #MeToo posts you might find on Instagram. It's got a very it'll be opened up to attack and ridicule from people that don't like that whole woke idea kind of stuff, right? That's what this movie's addressing too, right? It's talking about that bigotry aspect that goes along and is usually associated with that kind of a hashtag. And let's take a look at one more bad review here. The subject matter is powerful, but despite a number of fine performances, Women Talking is never quite able to find its voice. Well, it does say a couple. I thought it did. It does make clear what their decision is by the end of the movie, and it does make it clear why they made the decision that they did. So I enjoyed it for that. And as I said, it's about an hour and 44 minutes long. My criticism coming out of it wasn't the subject matter, wasn't the acting or the so-called wokeism. When I hear that, I just kind of like, just get away from me, people. I have nothing to do with you. Which I was worried with my initial reaction that a lot of people might take it that way. Here's the thing. They're saying in this movie that the whole colony has been corrupted by the men, that they are all conspiring to conceal this crime and work together to make sure that due to their beliefs that you should forgive and move on, right? So that these crimes of abuse will continue on and on and on again till finally the women have to make a huge decision as to what to do. Despite that happening, and I understand that, yes, a lot of the men and other people too, other women too, and there's not all the women agree with their decisions, right? As Frances McDormand plays one of those characters that goes against what they're talking about, right? But where were the men, right? Not all men, despite being taught a certain way, will think this way and agree of doing it this way. You're telling me that in that entire colony, there wasn't one other guy that said, you treated my mama how? You treated my sister how? Come here, we're going to talk. And I'm going to deal with you right now. There was no other guy in that colony that was like that. That would have been like me. Like, I said Superman coming out, right? Because idols are very important to young boys. And yeah, I like Superman. It's just that ideology that you put the betterment of everybody else ahead of yourself. This kind of thing. It's just ingrained in me. I could never do anything what some of these guys were doing to some of these women in here. And if I ever heard of it, I would just come out, is that what you're doing? Boy, you better leave. I would make them leave the colony and they would never even have to talk about this because I would deal with the situation. And in that It sort of made me a little bit angry that we never saw any inkling of another guy, aside from Ben Wishaw, who was there to kind of like take notes of it and stuff like that. But it was a powerful message. It's worth checking out because of that. I'm sorry that I ranted, and I hope I didn't offend anybody with my thoughts on this subject, right? About it's because it is a delicate subject, and they are trying to promote a good message here, that when you're in a situation of such dire needs that these women were in, their outcome and their story is something that's worth being told. And I would say that it is worth checking out. I would give Women Talking an 8 out of 10. And I would almost flirt with an 8.5. Somebody said it was an 8.5. But it does have some story issues in there. And I think it's because Sarah Polley maybe not be as refined as a director as some people are claiming. But she'll get there. She'll get there. And based on that alone, guys, Women Talking is worth going to see if you can go out and see it in the theater. And if not, it'll be out on streaming pretty soon. Those are my thoughts on it. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below and we will talk about it. Hourglass Vikings in the live chat. Yes, we do live shows here on the channel all the time, guys. Says, if the women are traumatized by their shared experience, they would go over the scenarios repeatedly to make sense of it, like PTSD. Or were you meaning them being argumentative and wanting the last word? Well, there is one in there that does want to always have the last word and stuff like that. And she lashes out and stuff. But it's not like that. It's kind of like just the retreading of ideas. It's kind of like we just did a scene of this before. Why are we doing a scene of it again, kind of thing. One final thing that I want to jump out here, besides the cast that everybody's been talking about, Frances McDormand was a smaller part in this, but this older mother, she did fantastic. And you guys, if you don't know, we did a reaction to a movie here on the channel called The Devil's Advocate, and she was the mother in that, and she was phenomenal in this too. She was the one that said, behold, I send you out as sheep amongst the wolves. Yeah, in that movie. And she plays the older kind of motherly role in this movie, and she's not being talked enough of, because she helps corral the group together a couple times in it, and she's good. She was good. So hopefully she gets a little bit more recognition too. She's in the background there. Women Talking, guys. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Mirror Domains. Sorry. Whoops. I hiccuped that one. We'll be talking about A Man Called Otto next, guys. We'll be talking about A Man Called Otto. Man Called Otto. Yeah. For sure.